So I don't know if you've heard, but Pink has been nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, that may seem totally obvious to you. And of course, she belongs. She's really built something that's iconic. Okay, we can agree on that. But what if I told you that the most important decision in her career did not happen when she was struggling? It actually happened when she was succeeding. Hi, I'm Leezá Steinorf, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back, I'm really glad you're here. On this channel, we talk about clarity, we talk about presence and leadership and relationship, and what it actually means to show up and to be able to grow without performing for approval. So Pink, in her debut single, There You Go, hit top 10. And her first album went multi-platinum. So everything she was doing was working, right? She had it all. She was like this star rising. It was phenomenal. So here's the question. Why would someone disrupt that kind of momentum when nothing is broken? And that's exactly what she did. So most artists would like double down and try and repeat the same, more of that sound, use the same formula. I'm sure her manager probably was about to flip out, right? They'd want to do more of whatever it was, that identity that was selling. And that's not what she did. And this is where I want you to really, really tune in, because this moment is far more common in high capacity lives than people admit. Okay? So think about it for yourself as you're listening. And Pink later described that first era, I'm going to say, as not feeling like the real me. Does that sound familiar at all? She said it was too polished, it was marketable, but it was shaped. Like it was curated almost to the extent of it didn't feel real to her. And that leads to a bigger question. What happens when success actually validates a version of you that doesn't feel authentic to you? Right? So like from the outside, everything looks right. All the pieces are in the right place. All the boxes have been checked. But inside, internally, something feels like it's being edited, right? Like you're managing yourself, or you're somewhat off center. And then we can ask, is that still success? Or are you actually misaligned? And here's what I see again and again in the leaders and the professionals that I work with, is that misalignment, it's rarely dramatic. It starts just a little bit. It's like, well, okay, I can do that project. It's not really what I want to do, but I got to pay the bills, right? And then and it keeps going, but it's like chipping away. It's chipping away, and it whispers. It's quiet. It shows up like just that deep breath, or kind of tensing or hunkering down, and it's this subtle sense of you're having to perform in your own life, right? And then so there's this growing gap or chasm between what works and what feels true for you. And I can tell you from my own experience, I've been there. And especially, which I'm guessing a lot of you who are listening can do, you can do a lot of things well, right? There's not just one thing, there's a lot of things. But there's certain things that really align with you and things that also don't. And that was the case for me as well. So Pink is a perfect example of this, because she had a choice, right? She was already skyrocketing. And she could just stay there. There was no problem. There's nothing to fix. Or she could risk it if she made a change. And here's what makes this so powerful. She didn't pivot because she failed. She pivoted because she refused to drift off center. And that's a very different level of self-studentship, of self-leadership, right? She knew herself well enough to know that if she went farther down that row, or she tried to repeat that kind of performance or flavor, whatever it was, she was actually going to be leaving herself. So her second album, Misunderstood, was a departure. It was more rock-leaning. It was definitely more emotionally raw, and it was less packaged, less polished. And I'm sure she had these conversations with the people that she worked with, right? That if she makes that kind of divergence in her decision making, in her music, of what she's bringing out into the world, it's going to confuse her audience. She's got an audience. What are they going to do? And maybe it did a little bit. And it could have totally stalled her career. So here's the tension point. Think about it for yourself. Would you risk your stability for being present to yourself? And not because you're desperate, not because you're being pushed to, but would you take that choice because you were clear that staying on the path that you're on was not aligned with your true north? Yeah? So from my perspective, this is where alignment really becomes visible. And it's not easy. It's easy to change when you're forced to, right? When you lose the job, company changes, get the job, whatever it is, finish the training. Now you have to go in that direction, right? That's easier. But it's far harder and much more telling to change when things are going well because it's not aligned or because it's slightly shifted off of your center, off of your true north. Because that's the moment when most people start negotiating with themselves, right? Oh, it's good enough. It'll all be for a while. Maybe I should just ride this wave out for a bit. My authenticity, it doesn't matter. I don't have to do what I really want to. We're doing so well, right? We have these conversations, these justifications. But here is a really grounded consideration. If you delay your authenticity, if you start to perform and not be your true self, there's a cost. And maybe it's not right away, and maybe other people won't even see it. But you're going to feel it, and it's going to build, right? I'm sure you know people that have gone far enough down the road in their careers that they really didn't want to, and they end up being resentful or unhappy or not loving what they do or dragging their feet through every day, right? So energy gets spent maintaining something that actually no longer fits you. And then decision making gets fuzzier. It's a little more grayed and blurred. And your internal center, that core of who you are, starts working overtime to fill that gap or to compensate. But what if authenticity is the thing that determines your longevity? And the way that I've learned to understand authenticity is being congruent inside and outside, that there's not that gap. Because here's what happened with Pink. That second album, that didn't collapse her career. It actually expanded it. It did not dilute her brand. If anything, it like solidified it. It came to define who she really was and is. And this is the part that I think matters to anyone who's wanting to build something meaningful but long-term. And that is when your, I'm going to say, external success matches your internal truth, then you stop leaking energy. Then you actually generate energy as you move forward, like it's a synergy, because you're bringing yourself the way you want to. So you've got that internal alignment, and externally it's working. And you get clearer and cleaner and more focused, and that is sustainable. That's sustainable. It's not, I'm going to say, it's not common, but it's powerful. And people that feel that, even if they can't name it, when you feel that, whew, that's huge. So when you look at Pink in the Hall of Fame nomination now, and we're talking decades later, there's another question that emerges. Was that nomination built on her first success or on that risk that she took to literally become herself professionally? And when you look back from the future, it seems obvious that she had to become the real version of herself. Also, externally, in the world, in her performances, in her music, in her truth as she expresses it through her craft. But at that time, where she was on that trajectory and literally not knowing if that decision for herself, for her alignment, was going to continue to carry her, I have no doubt that felt uncertain. But here's what's important. Uncertainty is exactly where most people freeze. They just stop. And it's like, oh my God, I'm uncertain. Okay, you can be uncertain. The world's not going to end. But when you choose from alignment, especially when things are already working, that requires something that most people don't have, or they don't choose to build because of that uncertainty, and that is self-trust. That's turning to yourself and knowing anyway, and this is what I need to do. Am I certain? No. But this is what I need to do. Do I know how it's going to turn out? No. And this is what feels right to me. This is aligned. And that's the part that I find absolutely fascinating. Because sometimes you don't fix what's broken. You actually fix what's working because it's costing you something, right? Energy, sleep, clarity, integrity, maybe even your sense of feeling fulfilled or doing what you love. So here's one quiet question that's kind of underneath all this for you. Are you building something that's sustainable? Or are you maintaining functionality, I'm going to say? Ask yourself that. And I've done it on my own. It's not an easy question to answer if you're being honest with yourself, because those two are not the same at all. Sustainability, something that you are aligned with and that generates from who you are in your center, or you're functioning because it's working. And when Pink chose alignment over that trajectory, the trajectory actually followed, and that was not an accident. It was not a coincidence. It came because there was coherence. There was congruency between who she is and how she shows up in the world. And that coherence tends to compound. It tends to grow and solidify. And that's not rebellion. It's not giving up at all. And it's also not, I can imagine I hear my father's voice in my head, well, that's not responsible. It's totally responsible. It's responding to your alignment. And that's authorship. It's owning your value and your own trajectory. It's clear and grounded, and it's self-directed authorship. So I'm going to say maybe that's why this nomination feels like she earned it. Not because she stayed on course the way she could have, but because she actually adjusted the course before it adjusted her inside. She chose instead of being told how to choose. All right. If you found this useful, please go ahead and like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate hearing from you if there are aspects of your life, your work, that you feel is slightly out of alignment. Please put it in the chat box. I love to read your comments. If I can be of support, please let me know. And I look forward to speaking with you next time. Take care.